internet land? Okay. Before we start, I want to just announce that the first concert of the Young Pianist series is a week from Sunday, January 25th. And it'll be a great opportunity to hear the new professor of piano at the University of Tennessee, Dario Martin. I have not actually met him myself. I was kind of hoping he would maybe come today, but
yeah, he texted. He said that he wasn't able to get away from something he was doing.
Right, we'll have to enlist him. I'm sure as the youngest new faculty member, especially with Qilong on leave this semester, he's probably doing double duties and can't get away from much of anything. But at any rate, it'll be a good opportunity to hear him. The second person on the series will be in February 22nd. And I think he's Chinese, Quan Wei Chen. Yeah, yeah. You can see. Yeah, and supposedly is a terrific pianist. So I have brought these flyers today. I'll be quite honest with you. We possibly on our last leg of Young Pianist series. If we don't, this was begun by a lady named Evelyn Miller. Those of you who've been around here a while knew Evelyn. She was an institution in Knoxville for piano teachers. And I mean, she was old when I met her, so you can imagine. She is, hey, welcome, come on in. And her goal, her dream, was to have a piano series for which young students could come and hear live piano performances. And of course, this was before internet, this was before YouTube, this was before all the distractions and alternate possibilities that we have today to hear music. But this was her dream. She got it started. I was fortunate to be the first pianist in the Young Pianist series. And now 47 years later? Am I that old? Yeah, it's still going. However, the audiences have become smaller. We have very few students attending, which was her dream and the reason for the series, basically. And we're discouraged as a board. Colleen is on the board also, and it's discouraging because we try to get people there, we try to get teachers there, and we don't even get most teachers there. And I know listen, I live in Farragut, and it's a long way to drive down to UT on a Sunday afternoon and make that. It's a big effort. And however, I would ask you to please consider coming. I think the admission was like $25. I think that's the admission. We haven't changed it. We haven't gone up. I mean, you go to anything at Neyland Stadium or Civic Auditorium, a musical event is going to be $75. Right? I mean, and your students are free. Your students are free. They get in free. So I brought some flyers today, and I'm asking you if you would take some, give them to your students, talk to your parents, talk to the parents, tell them this is an important thing for them to come and hear a live piano performance. Even if they're kind of beginners, you never know what's going to stimulate them to, oh wow, that's really cool, to get involved. So I'm going to give you some, and then if you need more, there are more. I think I have more over here. So I don't know how many you could use, and you could pass them out. They're Pacific too, so you could pass them. stick one up on the bulletin board too, right? And, okay, I've got more over there. Go ahead. Do you already have some?
I'm gonna get some more.
Oh, I'll give you.
I have enough now, because I.
You have enough now?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, well, we have more. If you need some more, there's some more in here, okay? But, yeah, as I was saying, we're
As many as you need.
we're at the point now where we're financially solvent. It's not a question of being, but it's a question of philosophically. Do we want to continue the series if it's not going to be supported by the teachers and the students in town? Because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort to put all this together. And of course, it's a volunteer effort of the board. And we really hope we can continue this series. But it's basically at this point up to you guys, up to the teachers and the students. So please just try to encourage them to attend. Okay, thank you. Commercial is over. Okay. Chris called me a week or so ago and said that due to unforeseen circumstances, we had not been able to schedule anyone for this month, and asked me would I come to the rescue, and I said, well, I'm sure, it's off the top of my head, I just said, well, yeah, I can carry on about a lot of things. One being, why the heck are we teaching piano? And so, but before I get into that, I do want to ask you all to keep our good friend and colleague, Faye Adams, in your thoughts and your prayers. She's going through some medical conditions right now that are really tough for her. And that's why she's not in attendance today. And that's why you might not see her in attendance for the next month or two at events. But of course her heart is always with this organization and is always with the Young Theater Series as well, in which she has been instrumental in continuing. So just please keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
Visits are not really recommended right now, but send her a text. You know, a simple text just to support her.
Absolutely. A text, a card, anything. Just say, hey, we're thinking of you. We hope you're doing well. We hope and have good recovery. And so, because we all, of course, we love her and we care about her as we would any one of us that's going through any medical difficulties. So, and we're all getting older, aren't we? So, and we're coping the best we can. But that's great. We got another one. Okay, come in. So back to why are we teaching piano? Okay, now I can, those of you who know me really well, I can carry on and go on and on and on. So you'll probably have to stop me. But my intention is to provoke discussion from you. I don't have any fancy presentation or PowerPoint or anything like that. I did sit down yesterday and just jotted a few thoughts down on the computer and printed a few things up. So as we go through our discussion this morning, and I genuinely want it to be a discussion, I just want to be a catalyst for the discussion. I want to hear your ideas, your thoughts, and as we go through it. Some of these questions are very serious. Some of these questions are humorous, but they're just. I think that's just good. How many do we have there? We need another one. Okay. Are we covered? I'll put these right here in case somebody else comes in. Yeah, okay, do I need to recenter here?
You're good.
Am I okay, right here? Okay, great. I'm gonna sit down, it's okay. Yeah, so, oftentimes in life, I have found that we do things without even thinking about fantasies. And I was influenced as a younger guy by the teachings of a man named Gurdjieff. Okay, that's him calling now. Sorry. If you would silence your phones, I would appreciate it. No, it isn't Gurdjieff calling. He died in 1947. But he was a philosopher, a mystic, whatever, and a lot of his teachings were that we're not aware of ourselves. We're not really aware of what we're doing. We go through life just in a bit of a fog, and not being fully conscious of who we are, what we're doing, what it's all about. And if you think about it, I can't remember my keys sometimes, where they are. I can't remember where my phone is sometimes, because I'm not fully conscious. I'm not fully aware. Yeah. And so it's kind of with that spirit that we begin today. Why are we doing this? Why are we teaching piano? How did we end up here in this room as a group of teachers, interested musicians, discussing this topic? So the first question, and again, anytime you want to give me your idea or your thought or your response to any of this, please do. So we always play the piano, right? We grew up playing the piano. We studied piano, or we studied flute, or we studied a musical instrument, and so we naturally thought, well, what is this? Is this something? Oh, look. Is that? No. Oh, that's trash. I thought maybe it was a ring. For a minute, it looks like a ring. So yeah, and we just kind of followed our path. That okay, this is all I know to do. I'm just going to teach piano. I'm going to teach flute, or I'm going to be involved in music in one way or another. Was that any of your case? I mean, any of you fall into that category that you just kind of that was your option? And yeah.
I'll share on that a little bit. I think that was so for me. It's funny because I was talking a little bit about this beforehand. Of course, as a kid, I played piano. I started relatively late, about 10 years old, and started pursuing music. Went to Interlochen, went to Cleveland Institute, and then dropped out of college to, let's say, pursue other things. And then for a while, I worked a normal job. I wasn't doing music. I wasn't even playing the piano. And after a certain amount of time doing that, I had this realization that there was something very deep and important missing in my life. It wasn't something that I filled with teaching the piano at the time, but I knew that I had to be doing music and I had to be involved with the piano again, which was when I decided to go back to school and continue with that. So I think that I know that's kind of one of those one of the humorous questions, but in a sense, I guess I tried doing other normal things outside of music. And just found that I was missing something. That the rest of my life had to be involved with music.
So you explored other options.
Yes.
And found that this was really the only option.
Yes. Exactly.
For you.
Exactly.
For yourself.
It was the only option.
And that's what I always told my students through the years. Those of you who don't know me so well, I taught for 39 years on the faculty of University of Tennessee College of Music. I retired in 2016. Oh, a long time ago already. And at which time I founded an international piano festival in China, and which we had called the East-West International Piano Festival, which we had for 2016, 2017, 2018. Then we moved it to Seoul, South Korea in 2019. And then, guess what? The pandemic came along. And for 2 years, everything was frozen, basically, and at the end of that, I just didn't have the energy to get that out again. So, if anybody wants to give me $100,000 to get it started again, I would probably consider it, but I was funding it myself, and it was never a huge moneymaker. But it was a sort of a labor of love and a wonderful situation. We had fabulous faculty and so on. But anyway, that gives you a little bit of a background. I've played in over 15 countries. I've played a lot of concerts, and at one point was a United States artistic ambassador, and under the sponsorship of the State Department, performing a bit. So that's a brief, very brief. I graduated from Cincinnati College Conservatory with a bachelor's and master's, and from the Yale School of Music with a master of musical arts and a doctor of musical arts. So there you go, in a nutshell, who I am. So anybody else want to share why they decided to teach piano or flute?
I gave it a little thought when I saw the, why do we teach? And I saw the topic, and I'm like, I kind of feel like for me that I really love investing in the students and seeing their growth, and that's really kind of what drives me. And I'm always trying to be a better teacher so that I can help them be better at their craft. But then, as we talk, we might think about this a little bit more. There's still kind of the wow, what's the point other than helping them to discover the love for music that we have?
So that was your initial reason for
Right.
wanting to do this.
Yeah.
A very noble reason. Good. Anybody else? Lisa?
Well, I didn't see putting food on the table as number 26. So, I looked at number 2. We feel dedicated to music and want to share that with the next generation. Just before I got here, I did an interview with a musician in England, in the UK, and I asked her that same question. Why she was a performing artist, and she still is. And
She
I asked her-
artist?
She is.
How did I know?
But anyway, I asked her that same question, why she did that, and, she also does workshops and pedagogy classes along the way as her performance. But her main reason is she wanted to share her culture and her music, and she wanted to pass on that tradition. And I've been lucky to have some very fine teachers throughout my career, such as you, and I want to pass on that tradition that you spent all those years teaching us, and pass it on to the next generation. You don't want that to be lost.
That's beautiful. And we're already touching on some of my other questions, but I will go ahead. And the second one was, we feel dedicated to music, and we want to share that with the next generation. I think, and all of these questions or reasons that I put down here, we probably all share in one way or another, some more than others. Some, and as I said earlier, some are meant to be funny, some are meant to be very serious. And I think that's a very serious, noble one, that we are dedicated, we're really dedicated to carrying this tradition forward. And I hadn't thought about that, but the music, the teachers that you studied with, to carry their legacy forward as well. That's a very noble thing to do. And then the third one was, we pursued piano performance, perhaps. And now we find ourselves in a situation that we simply have to make a living. There are a lot of performers who, and of course now in our world, they go all the way through the DMA, get their doctorate. So many schools are just churning out doctorates and graduate degrees, and the students graduate, and then they, oh, what next? And they look around, and there are no jobs. There are no jobs. Schools are cutting out tenure track, full-time tenure track positions. Of course, that include benefits. And they're hiring people on a year-to-year basis, contractual basis, that Chris only knows too well, right? And Lisa, on a contractual basis, so that they don't have, it's cheaper for them, but it's more expensive for us. So it is a dilemma, and it's actually a moral dilemma that I, as a teacher, felt when I was teaching at UT, that where do I draw the line? Where do I say, this is wrong, morally wrong, to encourage the student to continue to devote their entire life to this profession with dim prospects of making money. And the bottom line, I ended up asking my students coming in, even as a freshman, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you majoring in piano? Why are you doing this? And if they said, well, that's the only thing I've ever done, I've never thought about it, and my mother's always been important, my parents, for me to do this, and I've done it for them, and I usually would tell them, well, I think you should reconsider other options. Think about other options for you, because you're not going to make a lot of money in this profession, and you need to do something that maybe is going to work better for your life than piano, if you're doing it for those reasons. Then I would follow it with, but there were a few students who would come in initially and say, because I have a passion, I really just love music, like Chris said a minute ago. Sometimes it takes us a while to figure that out, but the students will say, but I just love music, always have, and it's so important to me, and I can't imagine not doing it. Then I would say, well, if you have a passion for it, and you can't imagine your life without piano being, or music, or the instrument being the central focus, then you're in the right place. I'm going to help you, and we're going to help to get there. We're going to try to find the best way to get there. But otherwise, reconsider. And that way I can morally live with myself, encouraging them to continue their studies. But as long as they were fully aware of what the future probably would hold, and I would tell them also, I want to be a concert pianist, and I want to perform all over the world. And I would say, okay, that's great, that's fantastic. I hope you reach that point. But do you know that probably, less than 0.01% of concert pianists can make a living, can actually pay their bills performing. Most everybody, if they're lucky and they're a concert pianist, they get an artist position at a university or a conservatory, and then they're able to combine both and still pay their bills or have a family if they want to. I think being honest with your students, of course, is one thing, and I'm talking about college level students. As a child, of course, you don't need to go into that, but that is something that if you want to be a performer, that I think we have to be realistic about, and we have to understand that it's tough making a living teaching. Okay, the fourth one, we love children. We love children. There's something about kids. Some of you in here have children. Some of you don't have children. And they become your children. The students, right? The students are the next best thing to having them, or maybe the best thing to having them yourself. You don't have all the expense. You don't have all the worries. You don't have all the complications that a child gives you. And yet you can greet your student each week and love them and care for them and give to them, and you get all that back, of course, as we all know, from them. So it's sort of the best of all worlds. So I think we must all love children, right? Is that, or is anybody here that sort of really hates children? I mean, be honest. There are people, I have a lot of friends who can't stand children. Don't get me around. I mean, a good friend of mine, Caio Pagano, he's a wonderful pianist, and he's 85 now. He's been on the faculty at Arizona State University forever. And he's got a couple of daughters. He still says, I hate children. He hates his grandchildren when they come. I don't know, yeah, it's all right. So that's understandable. But I think most of us do love children. The fifth one I put here was, we selfishly hope to have an extraordinarily gifted student who will carry our name forward in the music world. We often hear that, oh, okay, I'm a student. You read a bio of a pianist or whatever. I'm a student of such and such person. And sometimes I think we all kind of secretly hope and wish that we'll have some student along the line who will actually later on acknowledge us. Right? Acknowledge us and very, like you very sweetly did, Lisa, say that I studied with such and such a person and it's made a difference in my life. And because that, essentially, certainly is one of the most important reasons that we do what we do, to make a difference in somebody's life. And wow, how gratifying that is. I'm not sure if you're a business, a corporate executive, that you had a warm and fuzzy feeling that you've made a difference in somebody's life. In some sense, you do, or maybe in a corporate life. But on a personal level, the way we have that personal relationship with a student. And I've always, I get sidetracked, but I've always treated a student more, and I hope that my students, the ones that are here too, feel this, more than just a person coming in taking a piano lesson. And one of the greatest compliments, I think maybe the greatest compliment, and I received it just very recently from a parent over Christmas, was that you are making such a difference in my child's life, not just musically, but you're teaching them things, you're demonstrating life skills and helping them to make them a better person in other ways also, not just how to use their fingers, right? And so when a student comes in, even today, and I hope I did it with you guys who were students, but when a student comes in to me, I don't say, okay, hi, how are you? Sit down, play me A major scale. First thing I do, how are you? How was your week? How are you doing? How is school? What's going on? How's your tennis lesson? How is your work? In other words, treat them like a whole person, not like a fragmented little moment in time that, okay, I have them to teach piano for half an hour or 45 minutes or whatever, and so I'm going to get right down to business. I think it makes so much more difference in the child's attitude even towards studying with you and toward music if you show a genuine interest in who they are as a person, as an individual, not as just a piano student, right? Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, kind of on that topic, that a lot of times as private teachers, we are a lot like mentors to these students. They, we develop that personal relationship. I mean, think about, it's rare in a child's life to have one-on-one time with an adult that's not their parent. And so we do have a lot of influence, I feel like.
Absolutely. That's beautifully stated. Yeah, that we are mentors first and teachers second. I mean, that's kind of an important priority to keep in mind. And I think it's easy for us, getting back to being aware and unaware, we can become unaware of ourselves in that manner. We're thinking so specifically that we're teaching piano and skills And we try, that we forget that, oh, wow, there's a lot, something's even more important than that. And ultimately, the child might, even as a little child, starting out, I think the child does appreciate that. They don't know they appreciate that. They don't know any difference. But or unless they've had another teacher who was simply, down to business teacher who really could care less about what's going on in their lives and so on. But, we all know that a child will come in and have a horrible lesson sometimes. And I, over the years, have asked myself, why has it been so awful? Why is that lesson so awful? Well, and then I asked myself, if you as a teacher or as a mentor had been a little more caring and a little more concerned about their lives, you should have asked, how's your week? What's making you happy this week? Or why have you got a frown today? Why don't you seem happier today? Well, I hate piano. Okay, well, no, other than that. Other than that, I've had a bad day at school. A kid was taunting me. A kid was bullying me. Or my mom slapped me. Whatever. Gives them an outlet. Being a mentor, that gives them also, if you open the door, it gives the child an outlet, just like a psychiatrist or a good psychologist would do. You open the door for them to speak and get out what's on their mind, what's bothering them, what's hurting them, what's upsetting them. And then, after we talk and spend 10 minutes of the lesson talking about that, they feel like they've unburdened themselves, and they can then relax more and actually have a better lesson. So it matters being the mentor. It matters opening the door and showing them that you love them. I guess maybe it gets back to love, that you love and you care about them. Love and care about them. I didn't even write that. I did. We said we love children, but that's about all I said. Okay. Well, let's go on. So we want to learn more about how to play the piano through observing our students' problems and solutions to those problems. Do you ever find that you have grown yourself as a pianist, as a musician, from observing what your students have done or not done? I always thought that I learned more from my students than I learned from my teachers. If you're actively involved with what your students are doing, because you analyze, right? You observe, and then you analyze. What is going? Why can't you play that scale? What are your thumbs doing? What are your fingers doing? Why are they flat? How are you going to manage? We analyze that, even though we may have always done things totally naturally, without giving it a thought, technically. I will always remember at CCM, my very first jury, that I came in and I was playing Bach and Schumann, Prelude and Fugue, and then first I played they asked me to play the sharp minor scale, and it was a disaster. My teacher had never emphasized scales or technique, basic technique. It was a disaster, and and then I played the Prelude and Fugue, and then they all laughed. The entire jury said, "He didn't have any issue whatsoever." They said, "That was terrific." And they just laughed that I couldn't play the scale, but I could play the piece. And so, I don't even know, where was I going with that? So it matters how we prepare the student when we observe observe that they are maybe having a difficulty performing a certain thing, that we analyze it and we help them with that. Please interrupt me anytime, yeah.
When I was a little girl and was doing the National Guild, and so I was playing my pieces, and I played my Bach piece, and I have no idea what it was. But when I got done, the judge said, "Don't you like Bach?" So it must have been horrible, you know? But that has stuck with me. You know, I tell my students that all the time. You know, this is what a judge can do.
Yeah, of course, that's always dependent also upon
Oh, good.
opinion and background. I always remember when I was in the Leeds International Piano Competition in Leeds, England, and at that competition, you're given an opportunity to talk with the judges after you play and get feedback. So they take notes, you know, and they give you feedback. So never will forget. And this was a huge lesson that I learned, and I passed it on to a lot of my students. That I went up to one of the judges. His name was Gerald Moore. He was a great collaborative pianist, and accompanied many of the great singers.
Dietrich Fischer
Especially-
Dieskau.
Oh, of course, Fischer-Dieskau, and a lot of other fabulous, noteworthy singers. And he said, "Oh, David Northingron, okay, so the number, whatever it was." He looks it up, he says, "I really didn't like your Chopin. I think I'd done the C sharp minor scherzo." He said, I really didn't like your Chopin. It was too many liberties. It was just, you didn't, yeah. I didn't like it. So I was so depressed. Yeah, he's not my one. So then I went to several judges. I went to Rosalind Turek. Rosalind Turek was a very well-known, one of the probably most well-known female pianist, certainly of the time, and maybe historically, and played lots of Bach, and amongst others. So David Northington, okay, sure. Oh, I love your Chopin. It was fabulous. It was so spontaneous, and you did blah 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 blah. You were one of my top. So what do you learn? What do you take from that? You take, and I try to tell my kids when they go in competitions, look, the competition they're not going to necessarily choose the best person. They're going to choose the person that agrees with their own background and their own interpretation and their own subjectivity, okay? We're in a very subjective field, right? And if you know a piece, it's your favorite piece in the world, and somebody plays it unlike you play it, and the first thing is to lash out and say, "Oh, well, that's awful," instead of looking and saying, "Wow, that's really interesting, isn't it? Never thought about that." But too many teachers and artists are so egotistical that nothing can be good unless it's exactly the way they see it. And we've all encountered those people and those individuals. So that's just to give you an idea as a response to what you said, Connie, that you have to sometimes temper that, because some judges are very opinionated in a certain way, whereas someone else might be much more open-minded to a different way of hearing it, right?
Maybe then when I was 10 years old, I could have played it better.
Yeah, right.
Than somebody else.
Of course. Yeah, you weren't in national competition at that point, anyway. Okay, so number 7, we love to teach technique as well as solve the practical difficulties of playing the instrument with our students. That kind of goes back to what we've already talked about. I don't know, some people are really super interested in technique and feel that technique is the foundation for everything, and a lot of time has to be spent. I tell my student, a new student that comes to me, and I'm not going to take any more new ones, but a new one that comes in, and what I tell them right away is, okay, you're lesson, and I only teach hour lesson minimum. I say, half your lesson is going to be spent on technique. You will play all of your scales, your arpeggios, in every possible way, at 160 at least, metronome, and we will spend lots of time. We will have Hammond. You will go through the entire Hammond book. We will have a journey, and Opus 821 is really excellent because they're little 8-measure studies that are fabulous. But of course, there's so many opuses of journey that are great as well. But in other words, that I emphasize, yes, for me, if you're coming to study with me, we're gonna have a basic technique, and that's the grounds for everything to move forward. Now, this is as a younger student coming into me. There's a different set of problems when you're teaching at the collegiate level and you have a student coming into you. Sometimes you have to consider what psychologically you're doing to the student. If you come, and which many, you probably already know, but there are many horror stories of excellent pianists, young pianists coming in to a teacher at Juilliard or there used to be certain notorious teachers at a few major schools who would totally destroy the student. They would walk in and they would tell the student, you're horrible, you're terrible, you have no technique, you have no facility, you're going to start over. Everything you've learned up to now is wrong. And these are not students who play poorly. They're students who play very well, but had some gaps and had some things that need. But the ego of the teacher was greater than the concern for the student, right? So that's something that I never allowed to happen. At the collegiate level, I wasn't going to destroy the student coming in and tell them they have no facility and that they have no ability, and in order to then build them in my own image, which is often the case, right? I want a little clone. I remember my last teacher was the great pianist Byron Janis. And Byron said to me, when he was one of the few students of Vladimir Horowitz, and as a matter of fact, the only student of Vladimir Horowitz who lived with them for a year. He said that Horowitz always told him, he said, Byron, you don't want to be a second Horowitz. I don't want you to be a second Horowitz. I want you to be a first Byron Janis. And I think that's so important. And of course, Horowitz didn't teach a lot. But philosophically, for him to say that and not to put that trip on him, you got to be like me, that's a lesson to be learned there. That never try to tell the student this is the only way to do it, and you got to do it the way I do it, or else you're no good. No, we all know there's so many ways to interpret everything. There's so many ways even to teach technique. But the bottom line is some kind of way of technique needs to be taught and facility, and we need to try our best to put a portion of the lesson on some basic technique. Even if we're dealing with the kids who we know are not going to go anywhere at all, in order to play basic repertoire from the beginning, they need some facility with the keyboard. Okay, I've preached enough about that. Hey, we enjoy the stimulation of verbal and musical interchange with our students. Or not. I mean, sometimes maybe we don't. Maybe some of the things they say to us we don't enjoy. But what do you think? Do you try to stimulate conversation with your students, or do you just dictate that this is the way it is?
I learned something yesterday from a student. He was talking about his sister's birthday coming up, and I said, oh, is she older or younger? And this young man's in college, and he said, he said, we're Irish twins, and I'm like, what is an Irish twin? Have y'all ever heard that?
Yeah.
And so what I learned is like, they were born in the same year, not on the same day, but in the same year, and that makes them Irish twins. So, I mean, just talking to your students, you can learn really
Yeah,
interesting.
it's amazing what you can learn. Sometimes you don't want to know, but you're right. Yeah, but that again goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Letting the student know you care about them, who they are, and then they give you some feedback, and you share, you become a friend as well as a mentor, and that's possible. There's some teachers that will say, "Oh no, you can't be friends with your students." that lowers their respect for you, or you got to stay up here, right, in the clouds, no, I disagree. To know that you love them and care for them is very important, very important.
When the pandemic came and we were all online, it was so sterile, and especially with these little kids, and we all wanted to know we were somebody special. And I started having a question of the week, and at the end of the lesson, I would ask them a question. It might be, do you prefer hot dogs or hamburgers? Or it could be, I'm gonna get a new pet, should I get a giraffe or an elephant? It was just something where they got to give me the answer.
You provoked a response.
Right.
Yeah.
And even today, they still ask for it, I've sort of forgotten to think up questions. And someone will say, what's the question of the week, but
That stuck with
it
me.
made them my other children, my piano children.
Yeah, right. It was cementing a bond. And we all know that students later, some of them, later, it's totally unpredictable who will do it, but will reach out to you, will come back to you, will send you a note, will send you a letter, will send you a text, will send you whatever.
Wedding
FaceTime, what?
Wedding invitation.
A wedding invitation.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's a very popular one, yeah. But how important that is, and I think we as teachers now know how important that is, and how we probably failed in many ways with our teachers, not showing them throughout their lives appreciation and care and concern, but for what they did for us. It's so easy not to do that, to get caught up in our own lives and not do that. But how much we appreciate it now as teachers when a student comes back to us or reaches back to us with their love and appreciation. That's so critical. Number 9, we are energized by the enthusiasm of the student. Anybody, does that happen to any of you?
All the time.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I'm 78 years old. I'm supposed to be an old man, right? Oftentimes I'll tell Stephanie, I have 8 students that come every week. One of them takes an hour-and-a-half lesson. And then I have some adult students that come every 2 weeks. But oftentimes I'll tell Stephanie, gosh, I really don't feel like teaching today. Any of you ever feel like that? You ever sort of, I'm just tired today. I wish I didn't have to do that today. And then, of course, I don't cancel my students. So I go down and I start teaching. Suddenly, I'm energized. Suddenly, oh my goodness, I'm on stage. It's performance time. It's loving time. It's caring time. It's happy time. And so I finished 3 hours later, or 3.5 or 4 hours later, and I'm still energized. And I wondered, well, why didn't I want to do that today? because it's turned me on so much, right? Students turn me on. They really get me excited and enthusiastic. But it's because of the energy that I feel from them. You know, they give me that, and then I can give that back. And it's a two-way street. But we have to be receptive to that as well. You know, if our attitude is one that, there used to be a teacher at CCM that everybody would, you know, all the students would. Her name was Karen Deis, D-E-I-S. She was, I think, Hungarian, old lady, you know, old madam. There was also another old madam, Okokonas, Russian lady. And but Karen Deis, everybody went, and the story went around that you come have your lesson with Madam Deis, and she was a chain smoker. And in those days, you know, the window was open, right? So she would sit by the window and smoke and read the New York Times during your lesson. Play it again, dear. Play it again. That was her level of engagement, right? She really could care less and was so tuned out. But so she wasn't probably being energized by her students, and she certainly wasn't giving any energy back. So this is very important that we remember that enthusiasm and that energy goes both ways, right? Okay, number 10, we genuinely want to make a difference in the students' musical appreciation. I think we've already established that pretty much. We want the student to appreciate music. That's why we're here. That's why we're starting this whole process. Number 11, we genuinely want to make a difference in the student's life. We've talked about that already. Number 12, we enjoy satisfying our ego by demonstrating our knowledge to the student. Okay, now let's be honest. Let's be honest. I'm honest that I do enjoy satisfying my ego by demonstrating my knowledge to the student. So there's some selfishness here. Okay, it's not all laudatory and high motive. There is some ego involved. I think it's important that we have ego involved. It's important that because, you know, we care about them. And we also have worked very hard to prepare ourselves for this profession. And whatever level of preparation we have, and whatever level of final education we've had, we've still worked hard, and we continue to work hard to demonstrate our capability and our proficiency to the students in whatever way possible. I often said to myself, when I can't perform anymore, or when I'm not physically as capable of performing anymore, I don't need to be teaching at the college level. That was my philosophy. That was one of the reasons I stopped teaching in 2016. I have some arthritic conditions and so on. And but yeah, it's important that we are satisfying something for ourselves and recognize that. Don't be ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I openly admit it. So you can think that I'm the narcissist, whatever, but that's there's a certain amount of narcissism in what we're doing. Okay. Then 13, we're always right. No arguments from the students. We're the dictator. Okay? We can raise our voice. We can say, this is the way it is. You do it this way. I don't want to hear anything more from you. You challenged me enough today. No more challenges. My word is the final word. That's empowering. That's empowering to be able to say that, to be able to be in that position. You know, hey, we're one-on-one, right? We got a little 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 15, we've even got a 20-year-old who is here studying with us. We can tell them what to do. We can be in control of them. Now, you know, I'm joking partly. There's a serious aspect to that where that kind of attitude can be, we've already talked about it, can be very destructive. that kind of egocentric attitude that I know everything, you know nothing, which lacks respect for your student, for the student, the person that you're dealing with, the human being that you're dealing with. So, yeah, obviously, if you cross that line, that's wrong and it's disruptive. But the positive side of it, hopefully, is that you do say that there is a line here, and this is where we're going to go. We're going to draw this line, and I'm the teacher, you're the student. There are times for that, to be very specific about that, and to be clear about that. Yeah. Any comments on that? None of you feel like a dictator ever. You never feel. All of you feel totally supplicant to the student. No? Chris, you're giving me a strange smile, like no, you're the only one in the room that's that way.
I don't know, because
We don't have to say the word.
So there's certainly situations where I think it's there's something that needs to be addressed that's very obvious. I don't think I've ever had a situation where there's been like I said, something that is, we got to address this right away, and this needs to change, where I've had pushback from the student, like, no, it should be this way, and maybe that's due to the nature of the things that I'm trying to address with students, but
You're such a nice guy.
in general, I want to encourage students to do their own thing, and there's some students that I constantly have to remind, like, I want you to make your own decision about this. Choose what you want to do with this. But here are the parameters, right? We've got to have a singing line. There's got to be this amount of like rhythmic stability, et cetera.
Right. But most of us have encountered stubborn students sometimes who just, they put up a wall and they don't want to do anything you tell them to do, and that's when you have to assume the dictatorship. Okay? That's when you have to take over. And there are times, I think, for all of us that we have that. Okay, the 14th one is we want to make lots of money. That's why we went into this profession. We have some domestic help that comes to our house. And I was thinking this week, and I told Stephanie, I said, we're paying them, the individuals, they're getting $40 an hour. $40 an hour to clean our house. Individually, not the group, but individually, that's what it comes out to. So, I don't know whether that's high, I don't know whether that's low. To me, it's very high for an unskilled, uneducated person to be getting that kind of fee. But all of us in here have undergraduate degrees, minimum, I think. And even if we don't, we have the dedication that would qualify us for that, and the years of experience. If we charge, I don't know what anybody charges, but if we charge less than $60 an hour, I mean, let's say $40 for no experience, no education, nothing in our society. Okay, let's give $20 for, $100,000 of education expenses and whatever else we want to put together. $60 for, and no experience, we're just starting out, $60 an hour, $30 an hour. That's really cheap in our society, I think, okay? If we're charging less than that, I think we should take a hard look at it and say, okay, look, Johnny, Johnny's mom, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go up 20% this year on my fees because I'm just not gone up in forever. And it's so easy. That's so easy for all of us. Oh my gosh, I've taught for $60 an hour for 10 years. And I just feel so uncomfortable telling them I'm going to raise my fee. Why? When you go to the grocery store, do they feel uncomfortable charging you double what you paid 5 years ago? No. I mean, you know, you got expenses. We all have expenses. So don't feel intimidated by justifying, or feeling you have to justify even, a decent wage. Okay? You're an independent contractor. You're an independent contractor. I've got a little architectural issue at my house. I called a structural design engineer the other day. I said, okay, yesterday, I said, can you come to my house, just look at my brick issue that I'm looking at? Oh yes, sure. I'll come, that'll be $600 to come and look at the house and give you it'll be $1,200 for a written estimate of what we need to do. Oh, okay. I said, thank you, I'll call you later. But at any rate, this is the world we live in, guys. So let's not, later on down here, I said we like to live in a bubble. Or maybe I didn't, yeah, number 23. We want to stay in our comfortable little bubble of music and music making, consequently avoiding the issues and the complications of the rest of the world. Okay, that's easy for us to do that. And well, musicians do that too. They really stay in a bubble a lot of times for their whole lives. But, you know, we do live in a world. We have to reconcile ourselves to the world that we live in and hopefully get a commensurate amount, because we're already getting a low amount. It's not a lot of money. We think, oh, $60 an hour. Whew, wow, that's a lot of money. Well, it isn't. Don't sell yourself short. Pianists and musicians sell themselves short constantly. I've always felt that. People never charge enough money. And you know, when I accepted new students and I told them what I charge, I'm not going to go there, but when I told them, I fully expect the parent to say, well, you know, that's just no more than I want to pay. I've never had a student, I've never had a prospective student come that I accept to tell me that's more than I want to pay, or to say, I'm sorry, I just can't pay that much. I've never, ever in my entire life. Which tells me one thing, you know, if they want to study with you, they're going to pay whatever you're going to charge. And so don't sell yourself short, please, because you know what? Even if you're not helping yourself, you're hurting the profession. You're hurting everybody else. Because if they go, I'm sorry, I'll call somebody else. Johnny pays $20 for their lesson. I'll just call their teacher. Okay, well, never mind that teacher has never graduated from music school or knows anything about the instrument. They just sung in the choir all their lives. They're teaching piano on the side. You know, a lot of teachers don't, but a lot of parents don't care. So that's fine. That's on them. But you shouldn't have to pick up that slack. I hope I made that point. Okay, we want to teach discipline that can be applied to all areas of life that will stay with the student forever. I think that's very important. That's very, very important. Discipline. You know, that's a word that I think we all think about. And maybe discuss with our students that, hey, it requires a discipline. You know, no child, no 10-year-old or 8-year-old wants to go to anything, do anything every single day for half an hour or 45 minutes. But it's called discipline. It's called learning how to put the pieces together from an early age moving forward. And if the child, and that's why, especially, I tell you, Asian parents have this figured out much better than most American parents. They know that the pieces of the puzzle are starting early. And you're putting those pieces of the puzzle together, that child, in their mind, for success, ultimately. And that discipline that child is learning from the first day they walk into your studio is going to affect them for the rest of their lives. They're going to have life issues that they are appreciative of, maybe not consciously when they're kids, but later on they will be. And the parents already know it. I wish more American parents knew it. Okay, we won't even go there. I can go forever. whatever, okay. 16, we want to instill the joy of music making. Yes, I think we all agree that that's so important. And we want to join organizations such as KMTA, where we can share the challenges and the frustrations and the joys of teaching with our colleagues. Later on down here, I also said that we want to, we will really enjoy parties, and we want to build a community of colleagues and parents with which to enjoy the festivities, right? So that's so important. Oh, number 18, we have to do that one. We are masochists who enjoy suffering. How many times have you ever said to yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself through this? It's not even worth it. Okay, there's a part of all of us that I think experiences that. Of course, number 19, we want to encourage the next generation of young artists to pass forward the riches that we've experienced in our lives. That's what you said earlier, Lisa, which was so beautiful. Yeah, we want to encourage this group to experience what we experienced. Number 20, we want to exercise total control over our business and determine exactly what hours we work. That's an important one, I think. That's one of the important advantages that we have, albeit that we do have to teach in the late afternoon. So that's kind of tough sometimes to teach from 4 until 8 or 9 or whatever. Gosh, I remember when years ago when we had kids, and Stephanie and I would, she was teaching till 7:30 or 8, and I'd come home from UT after teaching 6 hours, and then have another private student or two, and teaching, yeah, it's tough teaching late and having those hours, but it's also nice to have those extra hours that we have to do what we need to do and to do what we want to do. So I think that's one of the advantages. And then number 22, we want to avoid technology at all costs. And this certainly applies to me. So we chose a profession that doesn't require technology competence. So you see, I don't have a PowerPoint presentation today. I'm not using any technology whatsoever, except at least Chris has got a screen pointing at me, and then I know something technologically is taking place. But otherwise, I was technologically competent enough to go to a computer and type this in. My typing skills have always been excellent. Okay, our number 24, our narcissism requires that we be fed by the adoration of our students. Boy, that's quite a statement, isn't it? Our narcissism requires that we be fed by the adoration of our students, or from our students. Whew. I know that sounds terribly narcissistic, doesn't it? For me to say that. I'm sure there's a part of me that I would have to admit to, that I love it when my students like me. I just love it when my students adore me and say, oh, you're the best teacher ever. Don't we all love that? Doesn't that make us feel good? It makes us feel so great that, oh, well, wow, this may be worth it after all, right? So it's a negative in the sense that it is one of those things. We're all selfish. We have to be selfish. And we have selfish tendencies, and that we're satisfied in our teaching and in our profession. And then lastly, our sense of humanity requires that we make the world a better place by giving of our gifts and our talents to the next generation of youth. Hopefully, that encompasses everything that we're about and justifies why we have spent our entire lives pursuing this profession, which I consider to be a very noble profession. We're making a big difference in students' lives, in kids' lives in ways that are much more significant than we're even aware. And I think that we're ever aware. I think when we pass, that there are others who are going to carry on our legacy and our tradition. And that's very noble, and that's very satisfying, and should be for all of us. So, I love you guys, and I think that I'm sure that everything I've kind of enumerated here are just thoughts that you've already had at one point or another, or in one way or another. I maybe expressed them a little differently, but this has been a fun discussion today. Thank you so much, and thanks for letting me pontificate a bit from my dictatorship on the chair here.